Anyway, I'm going to welcome now into our studio David Harrelson. And David is interesting. He has started he ministers, but he's started his own homeschooling curriculum that he uses, and it started with his own children. And he's written a book which is very timely. It's Why We Don't Vote. Not why we vote, but why we don't vote. And it's interesting. David contacted me, I guess, about a month ago, maybe a little more, and asked me about coming on and discussing the importance of voting and elections and so forth. And we talked about it, and I had asked him to come on, and actually, be honest with you, I'd kind of forgotten about it. I don't know if he had remembered, but then I happened to be watching Fox television the other night, and honestly, I never watch Fox 23 news ever, and especially not on Friday night, and for some reason happened to be watching, and there he was on Fox 23, and I said, wow. Yeah, and it reminded me, I better check and see if he's coming in today. And so we connected, and sure enough, he's here today. So anyway, welcome, David.
Thank you.
And your lovely wife is in the studio
That's
as well, sitting quiet as a church mouse over there, like my wife would.
She may not be quiet for too long.
Okay. We just have to say the right thing. Okay. Don't mention it. All right. Anyway, David, a little bit about yourself. You, grew up here in Oklahoma and attended OSU. Give us a little bit about your background.
Well, I did. I graduated from Oklahoma State University Technical Branch in Okmulgee. Before that, I had a couple of years at Central Tech. I graduated from Drumright High School. Played a little football there. Did a little percussion there. Worked for American Airlines here in Tulsa after I graduated college for a number of years. Then started my own business as an entrepreneur back in 1994, and we grew that business quite successfully. My partners and I sold that business, and now we own and operate Data 3 Corporation over at Cityplex. So I'm still a local business owner, and we employ about a dozen people.
Wow, wonderful. Great testimony. By the way, for those of you that can't pick it up, because I didn't, David's black like me. So, anyway.
Actually, I'm probably closer to Obama being biracial, but.
Yeah, well, same. No, I'm the same. We're the same. So he's really black like me and black like Obama, which is half black. So anyway, I have to take a little side trip here. It struck me interesting because when I came to Oklahoma, most people get the idea that Oklahoma is this really redneck place, and just full of nothing but a bunch of racists and so forth. And I remember just being struck when we came early, it's 20 years ago now, but going into a McDonald's with my wife and seeing an elderly white Oklahoma couple, grandparents. Mm-hmm. They're probably in their 70s. And just as oaky as, just a farm, rural Oklahoma, good old Oklahoma people.
Right.
And had these little black or mixed kids there with them. Mm-hmm. Nana and Pappy and these kids climbing all over this elderly man and just seeing the love, and I was thinking, well, see, this is just bizarre to me. How, because you think of this and you wouldn't expect this to happen.
It would have been very natural for me. I was adopted. So, grew up in that kind of a family.
Right, exactly. But that just shows, the people. So that's why when I hear about how, Charles Barkley, the silly remark he make about how, it's not safe for a black man in Oklahoma. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous, this stuff that I hear. So anyway, I just had to go there. David, in any event, I wanted to get to this. You told me you wrote this book, to help your children, because none of the curriculum that you were teaching them in homeschooling your wife and yourself covered the importance of the vote and how the election process and how we elect our leaders and so forth. So give us a little bit of the history of how you stumbled upon this and what you used to research and put this book together.
Well, I don't want to say there wasn't any curriculum out there on the subject, but a lot of the curriculum just glossed over the political process, the election process. Really didn't dive deep into it. Really did not explain thoroughly, why we live in a representative republic versus a true democracy. It really did not. It really did not explain the significance and the importance to going out and exercising not only your right but your privilege. And I was looking for something that really illustrated to the kids that it is a privilege and that people have fought and bled and died for that privilege. And one of the people that I like to thank are United States veterans each time that I have the opportunity to, because if it were not for them, then, we might be speaking a different language, and we may not live in a free nation.
Now, on the book, specifically the book, why the title, instead of why we vote, why the title, why we don't vote? What are you getting at?
That's a good question. My wife and I have been in youth ministry for about 15 years. And because of that, we've had the opportunity to interact with a lot of young people. A lot of these kids we have the opportunity to talk to about, what's their political leaning? Which direction do they kind of lean left or lean right? And a lot of them didn't even know until you start asking them some fundamental questions. And then you say, okay, well, that's kind of a libertarian attitude, or that's more of a conservative, maybe that's more of a liberal attitude. But even when you got to the bottom of that, when you started to ask them, well, have you registered to vote yet? Silence. Are you planning on registering to vote? Silence. Well, if you were registered to vote, who would you vote for in the next upcoming election? And they're like, there's an upcoming election. So, at least when it's not a presidential election, a lot of people are just clueless that there are any other kinds of elections. I've been asked before, in Oklahoma, it's such a red state, why does a Democrat even bother to go ahead and vote? And I was asked that right there on Fox 23, and I just said, there are a number of issues on the ballot other than just the presidential election that are important. I mean, look at all the state questions. So, that was a big motivator for me to sit down and try to put together some curriculum that gave me some confidence that when my boys got out from underneath my roof, that they were going to exercise their right and privilege to vote, and they were going to get educated, make an educated vote, participate in their citizenship.
Great. Wonderful. We're going to take a break for news and messages. And when we come back, we're going to get into some of these chapters, such as voting is just stupid. I'm too cool to vote. I love these chapters. You got to get this book for your kids, guys. Eddie Huff, Tulsa's Talk Radio 1170 KFAQ. We'll be back.
Once we were happy. Oh, yes, once in the garden.
David, we're going to continue now on your book, Why We Don't Vote. And let's just take these chapter titles and then let you expound a little bit. First excuse that particularly, again, let's go back. This is primarily geared towards young people, yes, but I think there are a lot of elderly people that maybe use different terminology, but it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
All right. So, So I'm going to tell you, well, hey, dude, voting is just stupid.
You'd be surprised how many young people believe that. It was amazing the first time I heard it. And then, I thought, well, it's a coincidence the second time I heard it. And the third time I heard it, I thought, there's probably something to this.
So how do you answer it?
Well, first of all, we ask them, well, why do you think voting is just stupid? Well, it's just a waste of time. Or the outcome's rigged. There's just a lot of different reasons why they give for voting to be stupid. But every reason when you dig down, there's always, something that you can point out. Hey, that's really not valid. A lot of times we think things are stupid just because we don't understand them. And one of the illustrations in the book is like two little kids, one little kid's playing cards, another one walks in the room. And I was using myself actually more of as an example in this, because I don't particularly like card games, but one of the examples is
my brother.
The kid walks into the room and the other one says, "Hey, you want to sit down and play a card game?" And the other one says, no, card games are stupid. I've probably said that before, but the reality is once you sit down and somebody teaches you, how the card game, what the rules are, and how to play the game, then you find out it's really not stupid. It's just I didn't understand how to play it. And
Right.
and that's the same thing with
Or you thought you weren't very good at it,
Right.
so why play just to get beat?
Sure. But when somebody comes alongside of you and says, hey, let's go off over here. I'm going to teach you the rules. You don't have to look embarrassed, in front of your friends or whatever. Then all of a sudden they start joining in and they enjoy it. And it's kind of the same thing with this. When we've come alongside a teenager and said, hey, there's something to this. This voting thing affects your life. A few years back, if you remember, we had a problem getting water in the swimming pools.
Right.
And I remember, the city wasn't doing anything about it. Several churches, including, the church that we attended at that time, stepped up and put water in the pools. But the bottom line was, if the parents had gotten involved and organized and gone down to the city council meetings, which they probably weren't attending, they would have known this was coming and they probably could have done something about it. I don't remember very many pools on the other end of town not having water in it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. You're, like I said, we're reading the same book. Yeah, no, I agree. And, I think a part of the problem is, and it's not just in our government, it's just, you talked about the veterans.
Yes.
I think we have truly forgotten the sacrifices that were made to give us the vote.
That's right.
We came and broke away from England that had a king. There was no vote.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That's in my notes right here. One of the things I watched recently was a movie called Monumental. Kirk Cameron did the movie. Fantastic movie. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was when the Puritans came over here, they had a 500-year plan.
Wow.
They had a 500-year plan. Now, I'm in business, and so I hear a lot. What's your 3 to 5 year plan?
Yeah, right. Right.
We're such a microwave society that we got to have it right now, and we think in terms of a 3 to 5 years, that's a long time. But these people came over here with a 500-year plan. And what that means is they were looking so far beyond even their own generation that, they had a plan for this country to become a shining city on the hill, if you will, in the future. And they executed that plan and they passed down those instructions to generation after generation after generation. And that's why we live in a free country today. They wanted to escape the tyranny of the monarchy. They knew it wasn't going to happen with a 3 to 5 year plan.
Right. And then if we look in the black community, no vote.
No vote.
No enfranchisement, the big popular word everybody wants to throw around all the
Right.
time. But there truly was no vote
For a long time.
150 years ago. I
That's
think
right.
even as far as 100 years ago, maybe 80 years ago, even in the 50s, that vote was restricted to a great extent in the South, in parts of the United States.
That's right.
So,
And now that the vote's there, you have to look a little deeper now and say, well, okay, the vote's there, but are people informed? Are they voting for the right reason?
Right.
Or is it just groupthink? Is everybody jumping on board because, the president happens to be their same color? That's not a good reason to put somebody in office. It never is, no matter what race they are.
of course, they would never admit that. They'll find all kinds of reasons. Well, he's doing all these great things for us, his plan. He needs more time. So.
It was amazing. On Friday, I was in a barber shop. And, it was a barbershop that you and I would probably go to. And, a woman walked in and within 2 or 3 minutes, she had the place going nuts over voting for the president. And I listened as I was sitting in that chair getting my hair cut. Every single issue that came up was an entitlement issue.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to lose this. We're going to lose that. What about the food stamps? Romney's going to take this stuff away. Not one time was the issue about jobs.
Right.
Am I going to get a better job? Will I be able to make more income? Can I get up out of this apartment complex and own a home? None of that. Every single worry and concern was about losing an entitlement. And that's what I mean about making an informed vote.
Right.
Versus just following the crowd.
I mean, isn't it tragic that we measure success by failure?
That's right.
In other words, Obama's great success is because he has grown the food stamp program by 50%.
Or more,
And disability has grown, and all of these other entitlements have grown. He's going to give seniors more. He's going to give a chicken in every pot, a car in every garage.
That's right.
And you don't even have to work for it, rather than creating an environment that lets people have jobs and feel good about it, a savings account, an investment portfolio. He makes us hate the very thing that could be the answer to our success, investing in companies, in
That's
stocks, in bonds, in you name it. And these things have all the things that should be good and desired are things that in that community are now hated.
I know. I hear punish the rich all the time. And, every time I hear it, I'm thinking, who do you think employs people?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think creates jobs? Right. We continue to say punish the rich, but then who's going to employ that person that needs a job?
You're a small business owner.
Yes.
You employ, you said 12 people, right?
10 to 12 people.
10 to 12 people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a small business.
Yes, it is.
I guess even up, what is it, up to 250 or 500 is considered?
Maybe up to 500.
Yeah, it's a small business. So you'd be a very small business. And I'm a micro business. I've got one employee, besides myself. But anyway, a lot of these things, you get it. I get it. And you're, are you an LLC? Are you pass through? Or?
We have both. We have two LLCs and an incorporation, my partners and I.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, but if the taxes go up on you, I assume you're above the 250 threshold for tax purposes.
Well, the business,
right. Yeah. And so when that goes up and they start taking more and more of your money, what are you going to do?
We're not going to hire.
You may have to let somebody go.
Well, we hope not, but it could come to that, especially with healthcare.
The healthcare and thing, right? Which people just don't understand, and they're buying all this line that no, this is better for people, and so anyway, right. Let's take a break. When we get back, we'll get to some more of these. Eddie Huff, Tulsa's Talk Radio, 1170 KFAQ. Jerusalem, why won't you? Let's go. I don't like politicians or I don't like politics or politicians.
Yeah, we've heard that over and over again, and basically what we do every time we hear that is say, hey, do you attend a public school? Most of the kids we minister to do. Well, have you ever elected, like a school homecoming queen or homecoming king or anything like that? Maybe a band king or queen. Well, yeah. Well, did you get involved in that? Yeah, I handed out some flyers and, I was really cheering for my boy and, or my girl or whatever. And, it was like, well, you didn't seem to hate that. That was pretty cool. Everybody cheered when when your person won or whatever. And they're like, yeah, but that's not politics. So, and we just explained to them, yeah, it is. It's just politics on a smaller scale.
That's really good.
So
it's a similar type thing. The difference is, they get to know those people in high school or college or whatever in their club that they're voting for, whereas they don't know the politician. But if they got to know them, then they would understand why they want to do the same.
And if they got to know what issues that politician, has near and dear to their heart, they may find out that there's an issue that affects their mom or their dad or their grandma or grandpa. And hey, I need to go out and find out where this guy's campaign office is or where this lady's campaign office is. And I need to help get her elected because, she believes in what I believe in.
Yeah. Now here's a real good one. I don't care about the issues. Leave me alone. I don't care. I don't care about the issues. Let me just, I'll tell you where this one, I've seen the most of this, and you tell me if I'm getting close here. In church.
Right.
It's all gonna burn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
They're all corrupt. They're all bad. And so I'm just gonna not get involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then next thing you know, they have a landfill showing up in their backyard. or a prison being built, right across from their property. We give all kinds of examples like that. Well, you don't care right now because you're not feeling affected by it. Right. But let's look around at some of these ballot issues that have come out that I hear you complaining about. And, if you had organized, maybe you could have made a difference on that. So, anybody that says, I don't care about the issues, just leave me be. Yeah, they probably haven't been impacted by a public vote yet. But once they understand that they can be, and you give them some examples of how people have been, they tend to look at it just a little bit differently. Maybe I do need to show up at this city council meeting and learn about this casino coming in my backyard.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly. If you'd have thought more carefully about who you put on the council.
That's right.
Then
it wouldn't have happened.
Exactly. Now we know this one's true. All politicians are corrupt. They're all crooks.
What can I say? If politicians are politicians, however, to me, that's a cop-out. That's something that a person has heard, and it's a reason for being lazy. I'm not going to get up and exercise my right and privilege because I'm just going to tell you all politicians are corrupt. Like I said, politicians are politicians, but there are a lot of really good people running for public office, that really have similar, core values to what I believe Oklahoma's core values are. And there are other people who don't. And, sometimes if you look at a person's voter record, you can tell more about their heart than what's coming out of their mouth. So if you do a little bit of research on the internet, you see how people are voting on key issues. You can see, well, I thought this person was corrupt, but really what they were trying to do was protect Oklahomans, protect jobs. Maybe they were trying to bring more industry to Oklahoma. Maybe they were just trying to, keep us from getting taxed more. So there's always another side to the story. It's like Paul Harvey used to say, now for the rest of the story. And once you dig in, you usually find out, who's the good person and who maybe doesn't have such a good heart.
No, very, very, very true. And we'll end on this one because I want to talk about your ministry a little before. And I only vote in the presidential election.
Yeah, I've heard that one numerous times. I got to give a shout out to a couple of young men that we've mentored for years, Richard Cash and Emmanuel Hurd. I heard that coming from them a few years ago. And, I just sat down with them and said, guys, I'm glad that you're planning on participating in the presidential election, but you may not feel the impact of your vote for 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. If you'll find out what's going on in your local community and get behind a politician who has your same values, you may see results from that election within 30 days. Maybe at the most, maybe 6 months, but you won't have to wait years and years. So, anybody that says I'm only going to participate in the presidential election, the primaries have already been run. They have no say so in what candidate is going to be put up, by the parties. They're missing out on a huge part of the process. And we encourage people to get involved from school board elections right on up, from the smallest of elections all the way to the presidential election.
Wow. Amen, brother. Amen. Well, good. Well, the name of the book is Why We Don't Vote. And this will let us move on to the area of your ministry. If people buy this book, proceeds go towards your ranch. You have a
Dad's Place.
Dad's Place. It's a camp.
Right.
Campground. And tell us a little bit about Dad's Place.
Dad's Place is another way of saying my father's house. My dad had a vision before he died, and that vision was to help kids. And I believe when he died, it passed on to me, and hopefully it'll pass on to our sons as well. But we operate a youth ministry in West Tulsa. It's called Dad's Place. You can learn about it at www.dads-place.org. It's a free youth ministry. The kids don't have to pay. When they come out, they're able to participate in all kinds of activities, from riding small four-wheelers that are slowed down, by the way, fishing, roasting a hot dog and a marshmallow, maybe hearing some music that they haven't heard before, some Christian music that sounds cool. and they'll probably learn how to pitch a tent. They'll learn why we salute the flag and what we mean when we give the pledge. And we also are going to minister the gospel to them. And a lot of kids end up leaving and saying that was the first time I did like 4 or 5 things. I've never caught a fish before. I've never roasted a hot dog before. And I never even thought I would get a chance to ride a 4-wheeler. And it's a great opportunity to sow seed. And we're trying to build this ministry up. We've got several projects going on. And so when I wrote the book, I decided the proceeds are going to go toward construction projects at Dad's place.
Now, are you a 501c3?
We are a nonprofit. That's correct.
So people they can buy the book or they can just give.
Either one.
And it's dads-place.org.
That's right. Yep. Wow. And there'll be a link to it on the book website, which is www.whywedon'tvote.com. And if you're interested in picking up the book locally, it's at Steve Sundry's. There's some just down the road from us, Eddie over at Steve Sundry's. So run out and get it, especially if you know people that you would like to see them get politically active and they're just giving you excuse after excuse. This is the perfect book for them. Even if your youngsters are not old enough to vote, the stories that are in there, they will relate to, and it'll prepare them for a lifetime of voting.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, this is good stuff. And I know that I want to, have you back and we'll get into some more, maybe some post-election analysis. Yeah. And get people a little earlier so they can run out and register those who aren't registered yet. And when the presidential stuff isn't as hot. But, really.
I tried, Eddie.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Listen, everybody. This is serious stuff. This nation was founded through blood. Blood. Okay. That's right. And to black listeners out there, I know you've heard this, so I shouldn't have to remind you. The first person killed in the revolution, the first person killed was a black person. Okay. So you diminish the blood and the death of Crispus Attucks when you don't take seriously the price he paid so you could be free. And we've got to let go of the crap. We've got to let go of all the shackles that we're still carrying around after 150 years now. Okay. We've got to move on. We've got to move on. And you've got to understand what you're voting for, who you're voting for, and why you're voting for that person. It's not because he's black. It's not because he lives in your neighborhood. It's not because he gets you a free check and free stuff.
Amen.
Okay. You've got to vote for the person that is going to create an environment in this nation where your kids can grow up and become a Mitt Romney, can become a Barack Obama, can become whoever they want to be. A David Harrelson who owns a business in town, who has enough money, time, and care to start a 65-acre boys ranch for camps for kids that can't afford it. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I don't want to hear this other stuff, okay? So quit whining and go vote on Tuesday, but know what you're voting for. This is Eddie Huff, and we'll be back on the other side of the news. You're listening to Tulsa's Talk Radio 1170 KF. I'll have to tell you, that was one of the more enjoyable hours of my program. I love having people on like David. What really inspires me, here's the fact. I mean, think of this. Okay, here's a mixed kid. He's half black, half white, born in Oklahoma, raised by adopted parents. Okay. He's raised by adopted parents. So I didn't go into this, but I would assume his mother gave him up for adoption. When I have him back, maybe we'll get into more of his story and his testimony. And you would think that he would have an opportunity to have an excuse and lay down and say, poor, pitiful me. However, here's a guy, and he didn't go to a normal university. He went to Oklahoma State Technical Institute down in Okmulgee, OSU Tech, it's called, in Okmulgee. and learned a skill. And it happens to be in the area of computer science data and started a company with some other guys and now has a successful business. Wow. And then on top of it, ends up getting this 65 acres of land with ponds and trails and woods and four-wheelers and things to have kids that can't afford to go to some of these other camps that you have to pay to go to, so they can come out and have that kind of experience. Now, you tell me, that's what I'm talking about. That excites me. Okay, that's the kind of thing that excites me, and that's what America is about. And I want to champion that all day long. So anyway, I wanted to